Okay, so in the box we get, it's actually kind of a nice box. It's got this magnetic closure on it. You get your user guide, which has all of your instructions and different bits in here that are useful. You get the cone filter, which goes into the assembly. I'll show you how this all goes together in a little bit, but cone filter. You get your power supply, which I took out of the box already, actually. You get filters, which you actually get something which I was very happy to find. You get a metal disc filter, which is reusable, obviously. And then you get the natural paper filters. So if you want to do it with paper, of course, this absorbs more oils. So it's a slightly different brew that comes out of it. But I would have been kind of annoyed if I had to continuously buy custom-made filters, but I'm very happy that this metal one was in there. You get the actual device itself, which is right here. This is the part that it comes out of. So it sits on the mason jar like this. You screw the other mason jar onto this side. So you start with it, screw it on like this, then flip the whole thing over onto another mason jar. It drains out. This is the side where all the filters get placed. You've got power over here. It's not battery powered. That would have been nice if it was rechargeable, but you do have to plug it in. And power button over here. And then you get two straws. These they call one-way straws. It's actually got this rubber grommet on the top, which comes off for cleaning. Little rubber grommet, which has, I know it's hard to see right there, but you can kind of see there's some holes there. You get two of those, so you can actually clean one and use one. There's the other one in that. And then you get a cleaning brush, which is useful for those straws. This part, if it's actually, they say if it gets clogged, you can actually stick it right down the straw. Okay, so to assemble this thing, it's actually pretty simple. Take the flat filter, either paper or the metallic one. I actually really like this, not just because it's reusable, but I think you get a much fuller brew when you don't filter out some of those oils, so I do prefer this anyway. So you drop this, it fits only one way, goes right over there like that. You then take this piece, and this piece has to go up out of it, and you're going to slide it down into this. Goes right through. That then sits on this nub here, because that's where the pressure is going to come from. So you push that down. You slide this all the way down onto the top there, so it's nice and snug. This is one nice snug piece here. This whole thing then goes like this on top of your mason jar. You screw it in, and then you attach the power to right here, and then you flip it back over again. So now the mason jar is upside down with all of the cold brew and filter grounds pushing onto this. It pumps air up this tube, which pushes pressure down, and then the coffee comes out that hole. Now this is actually a straight shot all the way in. So again, if it does get clogged, you can use this little brush thing here, and you can actually push it straight down there to unclog something. But if I take this whole thing apart, you can see that it is actually, see the light flashing down there? So it's a straight hole all the way through right there. Okay, so first of all, this isn't really, even though it says a cold brew coffee system, it's not so much a cold brew system, unlike a toddy or something where you have, all this custom stuff to both brew in and everything. What this really is a way to make filtering cold brew a lot easier. The idea of making cold brew inside of mason jars is not new. I mean, people have been brewing cold brew in mason jars for a long, long time. But filtering is always a pain. You have to use some combination of cheesecloth or regular coffee filters and possibly do it multiple times. What this does by pumping pressure into the system and then going through a double filtration bit here is make that filtration step a lot simpler and faster. But they do actually have some information in here on, if you've never brewed cold brew before, there's all the parts. They have some recommendations for ratios. And if you've never brewed before, one thing they do point out is that this is the only cold brew system on the market that's designed to use an actual medium ground, which is the most common thing you'll find in pre-ground coffee. So if you want to just buy coffee and from the store, use it pre-ground already. This system works. Other systems like the Toddy and a couple other ones I can't remember the names of will clog. Those filters are not designed. You have to use coarse ground coffee in those. With this, you have a choice. You can use anything except for, super fine espresso type grounds. You're going to want to stick up in this range. But with this range, you've got choices. They recommend this ratio here, which is a 1:8 ratio, if you're into that sort of thing. I prefer 1:7. But if you already have a cold brew recipe that you like, brew whatever you want in here. That's the one nice thing about it. You don't have to use this, but you can. This is what I described earlier. This is the instructions of how it all goes together. You can see how it works. You flip it over and then put it on top of the mason jar. Then you flip the mason jars. Then you get a big stack. And then you press the button and it filters through. And at the end of it, a little hard to see, but in this one, you just get a big clump of grounds on the filter, which you can take outside, toss in your garden, or do whatever you want with it in the compost. All right, so let's see if we can put this into action here. So this is obviously cold brew. This is 1.1 liters of liquid. And they say to keep it clean in here and clean in here so you get a nice seal. So make sure there's no grounds on there. Screw this in. Make sure it's nice and tight so it doesn't leak. Get the other one. Plug it in down here. Over. And you can actually see it's already starting to drain because it is that straight hole right through. And we will now turn the pump on. And there's the pump. All right, fast forward a bit here, and it is now pretty well done. You can see all the silt has kind of fallen down. This is all just stuff right there. It's now kind of foaming, so we're going to turn that off and let this degas, like they said, just let the pressure kind of drain out. So I guess when we stop seeing the bubbles down here, you can see how it's bubbling right down here as it's coming out. So it's done draining all this. And we'll just let that wait until we're done bleeding off all the pressure. As you can see, the bubbling has slowed down quite a bit, so let's try and take this thing apart. First, take the power out, put that thing back in, and we just flip it upside down. And we've got our lovely cold brew here. Got about 750 mils right there, so not a bad yield. Looks great. And now this bit here. A little bit of pressure pop right there, but not bad. And pretty easy to take apart. You can see all of the grounds and everything just all gathered around right there. And this kind of just wash everything except this. This is not dishwasher safe, so you got to be careful with this, but everything else you just clean with water and compost the grounds. Okay, I just pulled this off in the sink. You can straw there, and here's that little tip that I showed before. And what is left in there, you can see all that silt and everything that the two-stage filtration did. So this kept all the big stuff out, but then this did pretty big job of keeping the fines out, which is pretty nice. So I expect that will be pretty typical for immersion with a disc filter, that there might be some sediment at the bottom, but clearly this caught a lot. All right, let's wrap this up. So I like it. It does what it says it does. If you follow the instructions and don't grind too fine, the filtering works great. As I said earlier, I don't really consider this a cold brew coffee system as much as a really good cold brew filter. And that's the problem that this is solving. Virtually every cold brew, not virtually, all cold brew methods have a filtering problem. They clog, it's messy, it's hard to do fast. This solves a lot of those problems, makes it quick, makes it quite simple, uses an existing method. I mean, brewing in mason jars is something a lot of people do. These are standard sizes, so you can use different size jars. The mouths are all the standard size. So this thing is going to work on top of virtually every mason jar that's out there. You can use half ones, the bigger ones. I think it's a great idea. I do wish this was rechargeable and not only workable via plug. That would be a nice update. And I really like the fact that it includes this metal filter disc. I use a metal filter on my AeroPress as well. And I think that this is fantastic because it is reusable and you don't have to be beholden to custom filters all the time. Now, if you do have a toddy system already, then this carafe that comes with it is actually quite nice. This doesn't exactly fit, and I'll show you why. This bit right here where the plug goes actually fits right onto there, and you can see it actually has a problem. So it will actually stay there, but it is a little bit precarious and it's wobbly. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend filtering into this if you have a toddy system, but on top of mason jars, it is a perfect fit every time. It's designed for that exactly. So you don't have to worry about that here. So, if you have mason jars already, that's great. You can buy these with the filter from the JARVA website, or you can use your own already. But there you go, JARVA Cold Brew filter. I really like it.